Honorable Minister of Energy, Commerce and Industry, Ms. Belidou. Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal, Dr. Heitor. Honorable Minister at the Palestinian Liberation Organization's Negotiations Affairs Department, Dr. Attili. Honorable Deputy Minister of Research, Innovation and Digital Policy, Mr. Kokkinos. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished members of the Cyprus Institute's Board of Trustees, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, dear graduates, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 2021 graduation ceremony of the Cyprus Institute. This is the highest point in the academic life of our institute, and we are delighted you joined us to recognize the outstanding efforts of our graduates in earning their degrees. Though this day is one of joy and celebration, the commencement ceremony itself calls for dignity and decorum. So we kindly request everyone's cooperation in according this ceremony the respect that it deserves. May we ask you to turn your cell phones to silent mode. May we also ask you to wear your masks at all times. Due to the special circumstances imposed by the pandemic, some of our graduates, as well as Professor Joshua Jortner, were sadly unable to travel and be here with us today. We are, however, very happy that they are joining us remotely. We will now proceed to the academic procession. First come the Institute's officials, followed by a faculty delegation and the graduating students. I call to the podium the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Professor Dan Olof Riska, for the welcome address.
Honorable Minister of Energy, Commerce and Industry, Mrs. Pilidu, Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal, Dr. Heitor, Honorable Minister at the Palestinian Liberation Organization's Negotiation Affairs Department, Dr. Attili, Honorable Deputy Minister of Research, Innovation and Digital Policy, Mr. Kokkinos, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, respected honoratiores and trustees of the CREF Board of Trustees, distinguished guests and colleagues, and most of all, dear graduates. On behalf of the trustees of the Board of CREF, I wish you all most welcome to this graduation ceremony. We are gathered here today to celebrate the success of our graduating class in completing the requirements for their doctoral degrees. But at the same time, we celebrate the successful continuity of the research and teaching activities of the Cyprus Institute, in spite of the constraints and the obstacles during the past year and a half. And finally, we celebrate the success of the pharmaceutical industry in its successful development of vaccines against COVID-19, which enable us to come together here tonight. Welcome to the 2021 graduation ceremony of the Cyprus Institute.
Thank you, Professor Riska. I call to the podium the President and Provost of the Cyprus Institute, Professor Kostas Papanikolas, for the opening remarks.
Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear graduates, it is such a great pleasure to gather here tonight to hold the third graduation ceremony of the Cyprus Institute. It is a time to celebrate, a time to contemplate about the future, which at present looks problematic and possibly challenging. In 2005, the Cyprus Research and Education Foundation decided to pursue an elaborate plan devised by a most outstanding team of scholars and planners for the establishment of a research and educational institution. This novel institution was intended to pursue research on problems of regional importance and of international significance, and to act as a gateway between the European Union, Europe in general, in which Cyprus was about to become a member, and the Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East region. It was intended to help the transformation of the Cyprus economy and the regional economy in general into a knowledge economy, and at the same time help to promote peace and prosperity in our region through science and technology and innovation. The Cyprus Institute was founded and started its operation in the fall of 2007. 14 years later, the Institute is well established as an integral part as an integral part of the research and educational network of Cyprus and has gained international recognition and success, remaining at the same time true to its original lofty mission. The Institute research achievements are noted internationally and receive world coverage. Most recent examples are our efforts in combating the climate crisis. As most of you know, we have just completed a remarkably successful conference on climate change in the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East, and it is an effort to gather the scientific community and after that the governments of the region to address this evolving crisis and monumental threat to mankind. It is part of the Cyprus government's very ambitious initiative to coordinate the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East countries to a concerted effort for mitigating and adjusting, ameliorating the impacts of this crisis. The Cyprus government entrusted the Cyprus Institute for the scientific planning and oversight of this initiative. It's a tremendous honor, this trust, and also at the same time, an almost unbearable responsibility. Let me make a special reference here to one of the founding fathers, I would say, of this institute, Professor Jose Mariano Gago. We have with us the Minister of Higher Education and Research of Portugal, Professor Manuel Haider, especially for this reason, which we honored all day with the third Gago Symposium on science policy. The Gago conferences on European science policy provide an international forum to strengthen the debate on emerging issues of research and innovation policy in Europe, as well to promote the necessary involvement of major stakeholders in policy and advancing the diffusion of knowledge in science education and culture. On this occasion, the Institute honored the memory of one of its founding members, Professor Gago, by naming one of its buildings after him. In the last few years, the Institute has achieved an enviable position in many indicators of scientific excellence, and we're proud to see our research having impact on the Cypriot society, but also well beyond it. Indicatively, I would like to just mention one item where our PhD students contributed heavily to this index, working closely with our mentors and with our advisors. The Cyprus Institute, when the Horizon Program of Europe closed last year, with the statistics emerged, the researchers of the Cyprus Institute managed to attract 14 times higher competitive funding than the European average. I think this speaks volumes. It's a highly competitive program, and the excellence there is, the numbers speak for it. So today, we're here to celebrate the graduation of 29 postgraduate candidates. It is actually the first time we have students graduating from the master's program who just operated for 1 year. In addition to the doctoral candidates, which have been in programs well over 5 years now. In addition to the roster, we completed with 3 individuals that are receiving our honoris causa degrees in recognition of their invaluable contribution to the foundation, mentoring its development and guiding its course through the years. The board unanimously ratified the proposal to award the Institute doctorates honoris causa to Professors Hani Helal, to Professor Joshua Yorner, and to Dr. Petros Kareklas. We'll have a special celebration for this. The proclamations stating the rationale and briefly their huge achievements will be read in the awarding ceremony. I'm particularly proud of the quality of our graduates. It is on par with those of the best institutions worldwide. Our growing faculty body and the quality of the newly admitted students guarantee that this tradition just started. It will continue and grow. On this special day for the Institute's life, I can only be grateful to the truly exceptional board, to the excellent colleagues of the faculty and staff that enabled this success. The future of the Institute indeed looks promising as this board and this faculty continues to strive relentlessly for excellence. Ministers, Excellencies, dear friends, we are proud to formally graduate today 29 postgraduate students, as it is very recently, only in 2010, we were granted the license from the Republic of Cyprus to award postgraduate degrees, in that case, doctoral degrees. The programs were instituted a couple of years later in the fields of specialization of the Cyprus Institute. In 2016, the competent authorities of the Republic accredited master's degrees, and we have been focusing for both programs on quality, admitting strictly the very best that can match the very high standards we expect from this graduation exercise. This is why we're so pleased that we have now passed the mark of 100 students earlier this year. Indicatively, I will tell you that the admission rate at the Cyprus Institute is 18% right now, namely out of 100 applicants, we admit only 18, insisting not on getting big numbers, but in getting very high quality. More than half of our international coming students from 20 different countries contribute to this truly outstanding student body. We promised the government and the Ministry of Education and the admitted students that the Cyprus Institute shall offer postgraduate degrees to a small, highly selective group of young scientists to aspire to become tomorrow's leaders in academia, research, and innovation. And I believe we did. And we will continue to do so. Also, another fact is all of our graduate students up to now are fully employed. We checked, and there is 100% employment following our students. All of them excelled. Our graduates are now employed all over the world, in Cyprus, the Middle East, Europe, and the US, in top research institutions, universities, and high-tech companies. Dear graduating class of 2021, you have been an integral part of our institute and its community. We were true to our promise. We delivered an excellent education for you, and you stood up to the demanding standards and hard work that went with that promise. You worked hard, you apprenticed with outstanding faculty, you worked in state-of-the-art laboratories and facilities, and you have been embedded through that in international collaborations with the best institutions around the world. Having graduated, you are now going out to the real world to pursue careers in academia, research institutions, and industry. We're confident that you will be employed in jobs of the highest caliber as your fellow students that preceded did, and you will also excel in these challenging opportunities that lie ahead of you. We are confident that the vision that drives our institution, namely to use science and technology for the benevolent and advancement of our societies, is deeply ingrained in your psyche now and your professional makeup, in your future careers, along with the scientific knowledge and formidable skills that you have acquired. So, please go out and make your mark on the world. Make the world a better place. It is time for you to lead the way. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Papanikolaou. I now welcome to the podium our 2021 commencement speaker, Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Trustee of the Cyprus Institute, Professor Sachs is the director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University and president of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Professor Sachs.
Good evening, everybody. Honorable ministers, Chairman Riska, President Papanikolaou, faculty, leaders of the Cyprus Institute, and especially graduates. What a joy and honor it is to be together with you in this wonderful, and I will argue, unique place and unique setting. We're celebrating the great accomplishments of the graduates today. We're celebrating the remarkable achievements of the honorees this evening. And we're also celebrating the Cyprus Institute, which is a glorious institution that we see growing to great global significance before our eyes. And some of us, many of you, have seen it from its inception, from the notion that a new Cyprus Institute could play a constructive role, as Kostas just said, as a gateway to the region. But what it is becoming is a gateway to global problem solving, and at an astoundingly rapid, prodigious rate. It's a joy to see this happening. I think the reason for the remarkable growth of the Cyprus Institute into this venue in which leaders from all over the world want to come to brainstorm, to discuss our challenges and our possible ways forward, is because of the values that we just saw so beautifully in the remarks of President Kostas Papanikolaou, who, after all, has imbued this institution with his unique spirit, because he spoke about not only a great scientific institute, an institute of solving tremendously challenging scientific and technological problems, but of an institute in which the best of science and technology is put to service of humanity. That's something special. And that, I believe, is something that is a unique capacity of this institute and this place in the world, because this institute is drawing a kind of geographic rent of the last 10,000 years that can't be recreated anywhere else. It is the heritage. This is the place, probably more than any other place on the planet, that is able to gather the kind of wisdom from many directions, from many wisdom traditions, from a unbroken chain of history of more than 10,000 years, but of the 10,000 years that we know well on Cyprus and in this part of the world, that enables this institution to do something really different. All of us feel so much that, as we discussed in this week, the challenges of climate change in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East, but globally, that the problems are at once problems of science, to be sure. Without the science, we wouldn't have any idea what is happening. This isn't just hunch. The knowledge of climatology builds on 200 years of scientific rigor with tremendous cascades of breakthroughs in the last 50 years to allow us to understand the paleoclimate, to understand the deep nature of the changes that are underway, to be able to model those changes, to be able to understand that we are now warmer today on Earth than at any time over a century scale of the last 100,000 years. That's scientific knowledge. The ability to see a way forward technologically depends on phenomenal breakthroughs in engineering. The fact that it is not completely crazy to think that 200 years of gradual evolution of a fossil fuel-based global energy system can be transformed in 30 years by design into a zero carbon energy system, which we need for global safety, is technologically miraculous, I think is a right word to say, but obviously dependent on the most sophisticated technological insights, and many of the leaders of that engineering knowledge are here. But what was so absolutely poignantly clear about the discussions on climate change in the last few days here is that none of this can work merely as a scientific or technological breakthrough. This is a human challenge. This is a global challenge. This is a challenge of societies, of people who don't know the science or the technology, but know that their lives feel shaky, at risk, with uncertainty, with injustices, not sure why, not sure how to react, but feeling deeply unease. And we need, in a period that is extraordinarily short, one generation, to bring a world around to the solutions that we know technically exist, that we know scientifically are needed, but to have political systems, geopolitics, international institutions, local governments, national governments, civil society, 8 billion people on the planet, aligned in a shared direction. That's not so easy. And that means that we're dealing with the kinds of problems that we have not had to deal with in the past. And that is the ability to bring together science, technology, social, political, economic systems, and ethics together to forge a way forward that can work for humanity and that can actually achieve its purposes. I think I would say if we didn't have to do this, we would say, no, thank you, that's a little tough. Could you give me another homework assignment? This is not something we would wish for having to do, but this is something that is needed to do. And that means we need a new kind of training, a new kind of pedagogy, a new kind of insight, a new kind of professionalism that combines the epistemic knowledge with the moral knowledge, that does exactly what Kostas Papanikolaou said just a few moments ago: use your science for the human good. And I feel that this is intrinsic not only to the mission of the Cyprus Institute, but already profoundly embedded in a unique way in the Cyprus Institute. Science and technology, technical skills, social and economic knowledge for the human good. And I would argue that this cannot be done with such success and with such hope in other places in the world. It would, in truth, I have to admit, not to insult anyone, but it would be a little bit harder in Cincinnati or Kansas or New York even, or places that don't have behind them 10,000 years of collective wisdom that is alive in the heart and soul of this country and in this region. Even as we sit here, we're sitting in an ancient Greek amphitheater after all, right? This architecture is not a coincidence. My wife and I were sitting about 1,700 kilometers away just a few weeks ago in an amphitheater in Syracuse, in Sicily, Magna Graecia, and we enjoyed a wonderful play by Aeschylus, and we were absolutely delighted to learn that Aeschylus had come to Syracuse to direct the premiere of that play. Not bad. We didn't see the premiere. We came 2,400 years later, but still, we're sitting in an amphitheater. We are necessarily imbibing the ancient Greek soul as we sit here today. And when we look at the tremendous, remarkable honorees today, a great Egyptian scientist, an Israeli scientist, a Cypriot scientist, economist. It seems like the beginning of a good joke, by the way. Bring an Egyptian, Israeli, and a Cypriot to the bar. But what it shows is actually, of course, a meeting point of civilizations that is profound, in which, cheek to jowl, great civilizations have battled, lived together, taken from each other, made a shared wisdom together over this period. And I think it is phenomenal with these great, illustrious leaders that we'll honor this evening, that they represent actually all of the Abrahamic religions and all of the pre-Abrahamic wisdom traditions as well. And that's not by design, it's by the nature of being here at the Cyprus Institute. I want to share with you in closing 6 of my favorite concepts or words from this region that I think are crucial for the way forward and that for me illustrate how you have the makings here of the deep wisdom traditions that can help us to find our way through. The first is an ancient Egyptian word, ma'at, which signifies, as I understand it from my limited but eager understanding of Egyptian culture and religion means a well-ordered universe. And the idea that the cosmos can serve in a well-ordered way for human well-being. This is a concept that I think came first in Egypt, and it permeated the Middle East region. It finds its strong echoes and references in Judaism, in Christianity, in Islam, and it's an ancient and wonderful idea. A second concept that for me is foundational for this region is tzedek, the Hebrew word for justice. And in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, it says, tzedek, tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice, justice shall you pursue. It's not bad for a one-line summary of what we ought to do. If we pursued justice, we'd actually solve the climate crisis. Because the roots of the climate crisis fundamentally are not technological or scientific anymore. They are a matter of justice, whether the rich and the powerful will do what needs to be done to hold back greed and restraint and undertake the changes that are needed on behalf of the planet, and especially on behalf of the poor who suffer the consequences of climate, but who did not contribute to these profound risks. The third concept is the same, sadaqah in Islam, one of the pillars of Islam, which is the notion of the responsibility of charity and of giving, with a fantastic idea which I so much want to implement. And that is, under sadaqah, the wealthy pay an obligatory tax, 2% traditionally, as I understand it. And I look at the billionaires today. There are 3,000 of them. Their combined net worth is $15 trillion. And since I have my eye on the poor, I have my eye on 2% of that wealth each year. So I want global sadaqah, $300 billion a year, which could ensure that every child is in school, everybody has access to health care, everybody has access to renewable energy, and that's just 3,000 people doing their social justice. Not 3 million, not 3 billion, 3,000 people. We can go door to door. We could divide up the task. We each take 10. But I think that this is absolutely foundational and deeply in this region. The fourth word that I love, and I've had the chance to speak here about it before, is eudaimonia. Maybe my favorite concept. Eudaimonia, or eudaimonia, of course, is the Socratic, Platonic, and Aristotelian notion of the human good, the thriving life, the good choices in life. And a fifth concept that goes together with eudaimonia or eudaimonia is phronesis. And that's what I am sure are imparted to our students. My favorite philosopher is Aristotle, and Aristotle said that of all the virtues, the highest virtue is phronesis. What is phronesis? Phronesis means the capacity to make moral judgments, the capacity to choose for the good. I don't think any philosopher since Aristotle has been so much to the point. We're a mixed up species. We can choose well, we can choose badly. Aristotle said, to put it simply in the Nicomachean Ethics, get your act together. Behave. Do good, it'll become a habit. If you really do good often, you will become a phrenome. You will have the virtue of phronesis. This is a very good idea, very local, and very important. And the last term that I like, which I thought was an ancient term, but it's even better than an ancient term, if I understand correctly, but I'm sure someone here can correct me, is panepistemio. Okay, university. What a wonderful word. All knowledge. Because this is exactly what we need. We need places of all knowledge. We need places that bring together the wisdom across disciplines so that we can create the fully holistic, humanistic, moral, scientific, and technical solutions to our challenges. Now, I thought panepistemio, because of its root, was ancient, but apparently, even better, it's a neologism of 1810. I may be wrong, but I found that it was written by Adamantios, that it was invented by Adamantios Koreas as a new word for the new modern Greece. I actually love that even more because this scholar and leader and patriot said we need to draw upon our ancient traditions for the best of our modern society. And so he had centrally in view that this is a continuum of civilization. And I feel that this is exactly what we need, a continuum of civilization that draws on our ancient knowledge and our cutting-edge science and technology to solve the great challenges that we face. And I know that the illustrious graduates of this great institute will do just that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sachs. This year, we are proud to confer honorary doctoral degrees, the Institute Doctorate Honoris Causa, to honor 3 distinguished individuals for their contributions to society, for their scientific achievements, but also as a gesture of gratitude for their contributions to the creation and development of the Cyprus Institute. In today's ceremony, the Cyprus Institute will declare as Doctor Honoris Causa the following: Professor Mahfouz Hilal Hani, a trustee emeritus of the Institute. Dr. Petros Kareklas, trustee emeritus of the Institute. And Professor Joshua Jortner, trustee emeritus of the Institute. All of them have tirelessly and selflessly contributed to the successful development of the Cyprus Institute. A proclamation for each will be read on behalf of the Board of Trustees. Proclamation for Professor Mahfouz Hilal Hani. The Board of Trustees of the Cyprus Research and Educational Foundation, in its assembly held on the 24th of September 2021 in Nicosia, Cyprus, has unanimously adopted and ratified the decision of the Executive Committee of CREF to award Professor Mahfouz Hilal Hani an Institute Doctor Honoris Causa, acknowledging his work as an outstanding scientist, as a manager of scientific enterprise, and for his efforts in building international collaborations in science, research, and education. Professor Hilal, former Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in Egypt, is a professor of engineering at Cairo University and the president of Senghor Francophone University in Alexandria, and the Secretary General of Egypt-Japan Education Partnership. He has been the Cultural and Scientific Chancellor in France, Belgium, and Switzerland, and the founder of the European Union Tempus program in Egypt, an expert in earth sciences and cultural heritage programs of UNESCO Regional Office for Arab States, and he acted as UNESCO consultant, administrative director of the synchrotron facility Sesame in Jordan. He has also been appointed Secretary General of the Education Development Fund in Egypt. Professor Hilal has contributed in an essential way to the development of the Cyprus Institute and its vision. He played a seminal role in helping to embed it in the academic and research environment of the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East, thus enabling it to pursue its regional mission. He has guided and advised the development of both its operation and its administration. The induction of Professor Mahfouz Hani Hilal to the academic community of the Cyprus Institute vests upon him all the privileges that doctorate awardees enjoy. Proclamation for Dr. Petros Kareklas. The Board of Trustees of the Cyprus Research and Educational Foundation, in its assembly held on the 24th of September 2021 in Nicosia, Cyprus, has unanimously adopted and ratified the decision of the Executive Committee of CREF to award Dr. Petros Kareklas an Institute Doctorate Honoris Causa, acknowledging his very significant and influential contributions to the economic and political development, research and education, and for his outstanding contribution and tireless efforts in building international collaborations. The lifetime dedication and achievements of Dr. Kareklas as an individual, a leading economist and politician, a visionary and an innovator, inter alia Mayor of Kithrea, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports and Youth, of the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Justice and Public Order of the Republic of Cyprus, have conferred on him prominence in Cyprus for the modernization and internationalization of the Cyprus economy and cultivation of research and education. He has served also in a managerial position in the Employers and Industrialists Federation in Cyprus, and he has been admitted in esteemed foundations and bestowed prestigious awards. Dr. Kareklas, a founding trustee of the Institute, has contributed in a crucial way to the establishment of the Cyprus Institute and to the development of its administration and operation. During the planning and establishment phase of the Institute, he played a seminal role from the position of Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sport and Youth. He was instrumental in formation of the Friends of the Cyprus Institute, which he now chairs. The induction of Dr. Petros Kareklas to the academic community of the Cyprus Institute vests upon him all the privileges that doctorate awardees enjoy. Proclamation for Professor Joshua Jortner, who is with us remotely. The Board of Trustees of the Cyprus Research and Educational Foundation, in its assembly held on the 24th of September 2021 in Nicosia, Cyprus, has unanimously adopted and ratified the decision of the Executive Committee of CREF to award Professor Joshua Jortner an Institute Doctorate Honoris Causa, acknowledging his work as a scientist, as a manager of scientific enterprise, as a leader in international collaboration and for his outstanding contribution and tireless efforts in shaping scientific research and public policy, including public understanding of science. Professor Yortner, former president of the Israeli National Academy of Sciences and Humanities, Heinemann Professor of Chemistry at Tel Aviv University, first chairman of the Department of Chemistry and rector at Tel Aviv University, is internationally known and admired for his numerous and outstanding contributions to the advancement of a broad range of areas in both physical and theoretical chemistry. He was the first chairman of the Israel National Science Foundation, and he acted as the science advisor to the 3 prime ministers of Israel. On the international arena, he served as the president of the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. He has received numerous awards and honorary distinctions, including the Wolf Prize in Chemistry. Professor Yortner, a founding trustee of the Institute, has contributed in a significant way to forming and realizing its mission as a regional center of excellence that promotes through science and technology both peace and prosperity in the region. He has helped steer the Institute towards the path of academic excellence and to embed it among the regional and international centers of similar caliber. The induction of Professor Joshua Yortner to the academic community of the Cyprus Institute vests upon him all the privileges that doctorate awardees enjoy. I now call the Honorable Minister of Energy, Commerce and Industry, Ms. Natasa Pilidou, to present the honorary titles and to give a short address to the audience and awardees.
Good evening. It is very difficult to follow the excellent speeches of Professor Pavanikolas and Professor Sachs, so I will try and be as brief as possible. It is such a great honor for me to have accepted the invitation of the Board of Trustees and the President of the Cyprus Institute to attend and address the graduation ceremony for 2021 as an indication of my and our collective appreciation for its work and accomplishments. I am also, of course, very deeply honored to preside over the bestowment of the doctorate honorary degrees to 3 very distinguished individuals, as we saw. The Cyprus Institute, in its short existence, has succeeded in establishing itself as a regional scientific center of excellence in research and postgraduate education. In its worthwhile pursuit to promote knowledge and innovation in the Eastern Mediterranean while strengthening Cyprus's research community, the Institute has also become part of a large network of local and global partnerships, and its impressive performance in all the fields in which it specializes is now internationally acknowledged. Ladies and gentlemen, dear graduates, the day signifies the culmination of the tireless efforts of both the students and the academics of the Cyprus Institute. All the different initiatives and strategies implemented by the Institute fall under the umbrella of its overarching aim to harness the sophisticated and productive human talent of our country and our region, as well as to train the next generation of leaders in academia, research, and innovation. This will in turn create a competitive and dynamic knowledge-based economy which will give the impetus that Cyprus and our region needs in order to assume a leading role in the international economic, technological, social environment. It will also promote peace and stability through science and technology, which I know is a primary mission of the Cyprus Institute. Significant contributions to the realization of these noble goals will, of course, be made by the young scientists who are obtaining their degrees tonight. The Graduate School of the Cyprus Institute, with its high-level programs, is rightly considered a European centre of educational excellence. The publications resulting from the research of its graduates are carried by the top international journals within their scientific fields. In addition, the employment record of the Institute's graduates, both locally and internationally, is extremely impressive. It is, I'm sure, in this spirit and following the success of its PhD programs that the Cyprus Institute has expanded its educational portfolio with master's programs, as we heard earlier, the first students of which graduate tonight. Dear graduates, today's ceremony marks the successful completion of your efforts in the context of a highly demanding postgraduate program. With your graduation, you're entering the main stage of your professional lives, and I would like to congratulate you for everything you have achieved so far. This success is, of course, shared with your supervisors, academics, teachers, families, who are here today to also share in your joy. I wish you all a very productive career, a brilliant journey of scientific achievement, and, of course, personal happiness. At the same time, I am sure that you're all aware of the importance of moving forward in life with a sense of social responsibility. You are the next generation of leading scientists, and through your work, your fresh perspective and innovative ideas, I am certain you can help guide our country, our region, and the world through the many challenges on the road to a sustainable, digital and green future. And we heard a lot about the things that we have to do on that front, so hopefully we can implement some of it. Dear Honorary Doctorate Degree awardees, Professor Joshua Jotner, Professor Hani Halal, Dr. Petros Karaklas, all three of you have contributed in essential ways to the foundation and development of the Cyprus Institute. You have helped shape its compelling vision. Your international recognition of academic and civic excellence has been transferred to the new institution, now well known both regionally and globally. I wish to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to each of you as a citizen of Cyprus, of our region and the world, and of course as a minister of the government of this country, which greatly appreciates your contribution, for steadfastly and persistently guiding the Institute towards the achievement of its vision. All three of you provide a shining example of what can be achieved when united we pursue a shared vision. You provide excellent role models for our graduating students and for all of us, and I would like to congratulate and thank you for that. Thank you all for your attention and wishing everyone all the best, and thank you for the honor of inviting me here.
Thank you, Minister. I also call the President of the Cyprus Institute, Professor Kostas Papanikolaou, to confer the honorary diplomas. Minister, President, please. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, President. I call Professor Mahfouz Hilal Hani to the stage.
Αυτό έχει κάπου κρεμάει. Πού είναι, κάπου εδώ? Κάτω από το μανίκι. Κάποιος να με βοηθήσει. Είναι, this is... okay.
Now we will hear a short address by the awardee, Professor Hilal. Professor Hilal.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, dear colleagues, dear graduates, I'm really honored and delighted and emotioned. It's a surprise when Kostas Papanikolas wrote to me. Really, it was a surprise, and if I'm awarded this honorary doctorate tonight, it's not for Hani Hilal, I think, not for Botros, no, it is for the Board of Trustees. It is for the visionary and the eminent scientists that Papanikolas this morning showed the photo with Minister Gago. Those eminent scientists and visionary people who thought that this can happen. And the fact that you award me tonight is something that I never said to anybody, and maybe I disclose this evening, is that you confirm tonight that a decision that I took maybe 30 years ago was not a wrong decision. What was this decision? I used to be a good researcher, and in the early 90s, I have been promoted to a full professor. I like very much research. I'm trying to come back to research. And one day, I received a call from the director of UNESCO Cairo office asking me to go and work with him. I said, what you want from me? I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher. He said, I want you to work with me for science for peace, scientific diplomacy. I said, I don't know anything about it, but why not? I have a character of never say no, or maybe disadvantage sometimes. And I said, why not? And I went and worked with UNESCO Cairo office for the Arab states. And what was the project? It was reducing earthquake losses in the Eastern Mediterranean region, really more. I worked there for 5 years. After that, I went somewhere, and I was called again by UNESCO, and Minister Toukan and Professor Schupper to join another adventure. I call it adventure because it was an adventure, as Professor Toukan said yesterday, and again, Science for Peace. And I continued, and I have been appointed as a minister, and received a call from Papanikolas saying, could you join us another initiative? And in UNESCO, I started to learn not research, but science and technology management. At that time, I told myself, in the region, and I think yesterday, and you know, there are many excellent researchers better than me at that time, maybe. But there was no managers of science and technology. And I said, let me invest in that, and I'll continue on that. I did, and I continued. I went far east. I went to Japan, and accepted another adventure to establish a full-fledged university Japanese university ever outside Japan, in Egypt, a university based on science and technology. And you know, in 10 years, it has graduated more than 400 PhD scholars. And again, for Africa, you know, I reformed and established the Francophone Sangor University in Alexandria in order to prepare managers for development for Africa. We have now more than 2,000 graduates, good managers, everywhere in Africa, in the world. Your decision, the Board of Trustees, upon the proposal of the Executive Committee proves that I was not mistaken. And usually researchers, you know, is evaluated and assessed by number of publications, how many grants you have, how many citations you have. But the work that we did, it's never recognized, you know. But having the Cyprus Institute seen it as a baby, you know, and now it's, I'm awarded from you know, the big guy now, the big giant, we can say. It's an honor, and thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hilal. I call Dr. Petros Kareklas to the stage. One more photo.
Okay.
Now we will hear a short address by the awardee, Dr. Kareklas. Dr. Kareklas, please.
Honorable ministers, distinguished guests, dear graduates, professors, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Even the longest journey starts with the first step, as a Chinese saying aptly tells us. While I was serving as permanent secretary of the Ministry of Education and Culture, Sport and Youth, it was a blessing to be included from the very beginning and to become part of the team of dreamers who established the Cyprus Research and Educational Foundation, CREF, and finally, the Cyprus Institute. As a result, I am very proud to have been one of the founding members. Undoubtedly, it was a very difficult start, as the road was truly treacherous along the way. However, decisiveness and determination, as well as love for education, research, technology, and innovation, strengthened the local team involved. In particular, it was the invaluable help and guidance of renowned scientists from all over the world that granted us the strength to find the best way of overcoming the problems we encountered. My dear friend, Professor Kostas Papanikolas, proved to be a real leader and a very capable coordinator of the whole endeavor. As they say, all is well that ends well. The Cyprus Institute has been well established for some years now, and its remarkable achievements in many fields are internationally recognized. We should all, and especially its managing team, scientists, and staff, feel very proud for that. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the chairman and members of the Executive Committee and of the Board of Trustees for their decision to bestow on me this great honor today. As long as I am still capable of doing so, I will continue to staunchly support the Cyprus Institute in every way, particularly in my position as president of the newly established Association of Friends of the Cyprus Institute, as trustee emeritus, and as of today, holder of a PhD honorary degree. I'm deeply grateful for this great honor. Thank you for your presence and attention.
Thank you, Dr. Kareklas. You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, President. Now we will hear a short address by the awardee, Professor Jortner, who is attending the ceremony remotely. Professor Jortner.
Professor Dan Olo, the chair of the board of the trustees of the Cyprus Institute. You follow the footsteps of your outstanding predecessors, Professor Hubert Curien and Professor Edouard Brejean, great scientists and world-class scientific leaders. I had the honor to serve on the board under their and under your leadership during the seminal endeavor of the establishment of the Institute. Professor Kostas Papanikolas, the president and provost of the Institute and the world-class leader in science and in its policy. I vividly remember, Kostas, the early days of the planning of the Institute when we joined forces to overcome obstacles and perpetuate the vision of the realization of scientific technological accomplishments based on world-class excellence. I cherish our early meetings in Nicosia and Paphos, when our perceptive conversations constitute an outstanding outline of modern science policy in Cyprus and worldwide. Distinguished members of the board and of its executive committee, with many of you I had been honored and delighted to join forces in the build-up of the framework of science, technology, and international research collaboration of the Institute. Dear fellows of the staff of the Cyprus Institute, who make seminal scientific contributions in breaking new grounds in modern research area, such as climate control, which was recognized this year by the award of what I believe is the first Nobel Prize in this area. The honorary government ministers, Natasha Palidis, the Minister of Energy, Commerce and Industry, and the honorary Kyraklios Kokeknos, the Deputy Minister of Research. Your presence and wonderful participation at this auspicious occasion reflects on the central importance attributed by the national leadership of Cyprus to the significance and impact of science and technology for the needs of the country, to its regional significance, and to its international visibility. I am greatly honored and deeply moved by being awarded the honorary doctorate degree of the Cyprus Institute. I have great admiration to the Institute and its outstanding accomplishment on the national, regional, and international level. Being honored here together with my colleagues, where I had been the privilege to serve as one of the founders of the Institute, has a unique significance for me. This is a very touching occasion, which brings me back to the early days, about 20 years ago, of the genesis of the Institute. I was recruited by Professor Hubert Curien, the first chair of the board, and we joined forces with Kostas too and others in establishing the standards, norms, values, and image of the Institute. In retrospect, allow me to state that Cyprus was fortunate in having visionaries and dreamers in the planning and launching phases of the Institute. Indeed, the far-reaching ambitions of the founders were right. Their vision was exceptional success, and their dreams of achievement of scientific technological excellence came true. The arsenal of the dreamers for the realization of world-class science, technology, science policy, and international scientific collaboration was initiated, planned, established, and executed, and bore exceptional results. Tonight, we celebrate and honor the remarkable accomplishments of the CRF and of the Cyprus Institute. It was a privilege to be immersed in this remarkable endeavor of the pursuit and realization of world-class excellence. Allow me to strike some personal notes. I am delighted and privileged that my dear friend, Professor Hani Halal, an outstanding scientist and scientific leader, and my esteemed friend, my comrade in arms as a founding trustee of the Institute, Dr. Petros Karaklas, are honored tonight with the bestowment of the Doctor Honoris Causa degree. Congratulations and facilitation to both of you. Your institute, your contributions to the Institute are seminal. Finally, it is a great pleasure to address the young generation of scientists. The future rests on you. I applaud the recipients of the postdoctorate degrees of the Institute. You truly represent the future of science. I wish all of you the success and all the success in the future. But I cannot and do not wish you to confine this ceremony merely to personal aspects. I perceive it and would like all of us to adopt a similar attitude in the context of the relations between our two research institutes, the Cyprus Institute and Tel Aviv University. Both research institutes are rather of late academic vintage, with the Cyprus Institute being established about 15 years ago, while my University of Tel Aviv came into being 60 years ago. Both institutions had to struggle for survival and cope with challenges during the formative years of their existence before evolving into outstanding research systems. Both institutions raised the flag of world-class research as manifested in extensive and intensive international scientific collaboration. In March 2011, the honorary president of Cyprus, the late Demetrios Christofias, visited the State of Israel, and an agreement for scientific collaboration in the field of climate research was signed between Cyprus and Israel. This seminal event occurred in the house of the President of the State of Israel, the late Honorary Shimon Peres. This collaborative scientific agreement was signed by Professor Kostas Papanikolaou, the President of the Cyprus Institute, and by Professor Joseph Klafter, one of my students, the President of Tel Aviv University, with the two presidents of the two countries standing behind the signatories. This remarkable event reflected on the importance and significance of science for the shaping of the future of our two countries. This event constituted a celebration of the pursuit of world-class excellence and the outstanding scientific collaboration has and will be extended and perpetuated for the future. The decision of the Cyprus Institute to put me on the podium made me reflect on the central role of scientific excellence for the future of the world. I am deeply grateful to you for putting me on this reflective track. I also greatly appreciate the fact that the leadership of the Cyprus Institute was not deterred by the difficulties and restrictions imposed by the pandemic. This demonstrates again that the leadership of the Cyprus Institute can overcome any obstacle. I thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Jortner. Now, we turn to the conferring of the titles and the awarding of the degrees. I call the head of the Office of Graduate Studies, Dr. Chrysanthia Leontiu, to present the graduates.
Will the graduates please rise? Let's give the graduates an applaud. Please be seated. I call the Honorable Deputy Minister of Research, Innovation and Digital Policy, Mr. Kyriakos Kokkinos, to present the diplomas and to give a short address to the audience and the graduates.
Honorable Ministers, dear President, Board and Faculty of the Cyprus Institute, dear graduates, families and friends of the graduates. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today to celebrate this very special occasion and address this extraordinary pool of young scientists. First of all, I wish to convey my sincerest congratulations to all of you on your accomplishments. You are all qualified professionals having endured endless hours of hard work, apprehension, anxiety, awareness, and you are now ready to pursue what I expect to be long and successful careers. Each in your field of choice, capitalizing on the vast knowledge and experience acquired during your time at the Cyprus Institute, a truly remarkable institution of whose steady and consistent progress I am truly proud. The Cyprus Institute has, since its foundation, established itself as a regional center of excellence with an international character and interdisciplinary environment. Having produced significant achievements in all areas of its activities, including strong research funding, excellent infrastructure, and a selective educational program aligned with the priorities and challenges of our times, ambitious and impact-oriented programs. Most importantly, I am truly proud of the wider initiatives of social responsibility undertaken by the Institute on a wide array of critical domains such as climate change. I would like to assure you of my commitment and that of my ministry to always support the growth, expansion, and development of this institution. Together, we can steer the university to greater heights, serving our economy and our society with dedication. But today, first and foremost, we celebrate our graduates. My dearest graduates, I could not be prouder of you, of your professors of this institute, of your families, and everyone that supported you along the way. You now set out on individual paths, and I urge you to continue and seek knowledge and build on your skills and character. Strive every day to be the best version of yourself. Make sure you always do what you love and love what you do. Maintain your focus and never forget the reason why you started in the first place. COVID-19 has exposed the limitations and flaws of our world, the world that you are set to inherit. That can be unsettling and even alarming. But it is also a wake-up call on how much you are needed. Science, technology, and innovation are the way forward. You are the way forward. Let's all work together to leverage on the potential, support, and drive sustainable growth and development towards social prosperity. No one gets to choose the world into which they graduate, but you do get to choose the world that will be your legacy. Step up, realize your potential, and use it to the best of your ability. I would like to end with some words from the late Muhammad Ali. Impossible is just a big word thrown around the small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. With these words, and also quoting Professor Papanikolaos, I will quote him, he said, "You are today equipped and mandated to put your scientific knowledge towards the human and common good. So just do that. Be brave, be daring, and allow me from my career and my experience to just make a suggestion to you to use 3 things in your life. This is my recipe, and I share it with you. Hard work, professionalism, and values with ethics." So again, congratulations once again, and best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Will the graduates please proceed in order to be called on stage for the awarding? I will now proceed with the presentation of the Master's graduates. Graduates of 2019, I present to you Mr. Pantelis Irodotou, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mrs. Skoula Vrahnou, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. Graduates of 2020, I present to you Erman Dolmashi, who receives the degree of Master of Science, Master of Philosophy in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mr. Haris Loizidis, who receives the degree of Master of Science, Master of Philosophy in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mrs. Anna Frixou, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Simulation and Data Science. I present to you Mr. Ioannis Karpasidis, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Simulation and Data Science. I present to you Mrs. Elena Papadiofandous, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Simulation and Data Science. I present to you Mr. Philippos Haralambous, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mrs. Nicola Cha, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mrs. Anna Cherkali, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. Graduates of 2021. I present to you Dr. Christina Kakura, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Digital Cultural Heritage. I present to you Mrs. Magdalini Haralambous, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mr. Marios Josefidis, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences. The following master's graduates are joining us remotely. I present to you Mr. Eli Bimeni-Manana, who receives the degree of Master of Science, Master of Philosophy in Environmental Sciences. I present to you Mr. Alexis Harilaos Verni Provadas, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Simulation and Data Science. I present to you Mr. Alyosha Bitaga Bilenberg, who receives the degree of Master of Science in Digital Cultural Heritage. The following master graduate is graduating in absentia. Mr. Marios Zimosenous, who receives the degree of Master of Science, Master of Philosophy in Environmental Sciences. I will now proceed with the presentation of the doctoral graduates. I call the President and Provost of the Cyprus Institute, Professor Kostas Papanikolas, for conferring the titles upon the doctoral graduates. President, by virtue of the authority vested on you by the Board of Trustees and on the recommendation by the faculty, I hereby ask you to confer upon each of the graduates the doctoral titles. Graduates of 2020. I present to you Dr. Panayotis Kyriakou, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Science and Technology in Cultural Heritage. Dr. Kyriakou pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Sorin Hermon. I present to you Dr. Christina Roditou, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Science and Technology in Cultural Heritage. Dr. Roditou pursued her doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Nicholas Bagirtzis. I present to you Dr. Christos Christofy, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Energy, Environment, and Atmospheric Sciences. Dr. Christofi pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Andriana Brueggemann. I present to you Dr. Katerina Konstantinidou, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Energy, Environment, and Atmospheric Sciences. Dr. Konstantinidou pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Panos Hadjinicolaou. I present to you Dr. George Georgiou, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Energy, Environment, and Atmospheric Sciences. Dr. Georgiou pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Assistant Professor Theodoros Christoudias. The following doctoral graduates are joining us remotely. I present to you Dr. Loizos Koutsandonis, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computational Sciences. Dr. Koutsandonis pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Professor Kostas Papanikolaou. The following graduates were Fellows of the European Joint Doctorate HPC LEAP program. I present to you Dr. Georgios Margazoglou, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computational Sciences from the Cyprus Institute in academic partnership with the University of Rome Tor Vergata. Dr. Margazoglou pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Professor Konstantia Alexandrou. I present to you Dr. Srijit Paul, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computational Sciences from the Cyprus Institute in academic partnership with the University of Wuppertal. Dr. Paul pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Yannis Koutsou. I present to you Dr. Thomas Tarenzi, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computational Sciences from the Cyprus Institute in academic partnership with Aachen University. Dr. Tarenzi pursued his doctoral studies under the academic supervision of Professor George Christofidis. The following doctoral graduates are graduating in absentia. Dr. Danai Konstantinidou, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Science and Technology in Cultural Heritage under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Nicolas Bakirtzis. The following graduates were Fellows of the European Joint Doctorate HPC LEAP program. Dr. Vyacheslav Bolnik, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computational Sciences from the Cyprus Institute in academic partnership with Aachen University and under the academic supervision of Associate Professor Yannis Koutsou. Dr. Wenping Lu, who receives the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computational Sciences from the Cyprus Institute in academic partnership with Aachen University and under the academic supervision of Professor George Christofidis. Congratulations, graduates. May I ask for a commemorative photo? Please proceed in front of the screen. You may also step down so those on the screen are also shown. Thank you very much. You may now be seated.
Now, the Institute administration, the awardees, the faculty delegation, and the graduates will recess. This concludes the graduation ceremony. Thank you for honoring us with your presence here tonight, both in person and remotely. We invite you to join us for a celebratory reception. Enjoy the rest of the evening.